All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second episode of the Ignorant Conversations podcast, a casual conversation between two friends about the books they read every week. This week, my good friend here has read a book called Hooked, and we shall be talking about that.
Yeah, so as you guys know, we'll be alternating, the books that we discuss.
Mm-hmm.
And last week we covered a fiction book for you, and this time we brought nonfiction for you. So the book is called Hooked,
Mm-hmm.
How to Build Habit-Forming Products, and the author is Nir Eyal. So he's someone who's worked in marketing for a long time and in the gaming industry, and he basically shares his insights on what he's learned over the years in those industries. We gotta make sure the consumer stays on as long as possible. Maybe we can use some of those techniques that they teach in our podcast and make sure these guys stay on listening to us longer.
Is that why you picked the book?
Maybe. I mean, it may be a coincidence, but it's I don't mind it. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't be telling them, the secrets of this book.
No, you know how sometimes if you tell consumers, then they feel like, hey man, they can't get us. We know the tricks. Another layer of a trick.
Oh,
Anyways,
man,
let's get to it.
I don't know about you, but I'm not that smart, man.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, anyway.
All right. So he starts off with the way he starts off is, obviously the book wants to grab your attention. And he starts off by saying that they did a study and 79% of all smartphone owners, they check their device within 15 minutes of waking up every morning, right? So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and honestly, it's tough to go against this fact because really we're truly like that. And then he follows up with saying we're hooked. Essentially that's what it is. So we have this dependency, or we associate the smartphone with so many of our innate needs. Let's say I use it for an alarm clock, or searching Google for anything, or if you want emotional connection, you have Instagram and all of these things, and the smartphone provides all of that for you. So that's how essential it's become to your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically, he's brought everything down to something called the hooked model. Now, it has 4 parts, and it seemed logical for sure. And you might say, okay, why did I buy a book to learn this? But the way the book explains it with the examples in tech industry and within marketing, it's written fairly well. It's easy to read. It's you can easily digest it, and I'd say it's very useful. I definitely recommend it. I know I'm recommending it right in the beginning, but just to put it out there.
All right,
So the way the hooked model works is that it has 4 parts to it. There's the trigger. So the trigger is basically like the spark plug, something that causes you to initiate that action. Like for example, let's say, you get a YouTube notification because you've checked the bell icon, and you get that notification. That's a trigger for you. It's something that starts the whole process for you.
Okay, so one question I have is, so far you talked about how within the first 15 minutes of waking up, you go on your phone or you use it to set an alarm clock or anything. And all of the examples thus far, they're somehow technological. Can this hooked method be applied to non-technological things?
The way he's written the book, and the examples that he's chosen, as you gauged, there's primarily regarding technological products. But as I explained the hooked model, you'll realize that these are things that you can use in other industries as well, and also in your own life. So it's set up in a way because essentially what the hooked model is, you can put any fancy names to it, but what it really boils down to, what these firms attempt to do with their products is they're trying to find innate evolutionary emotional need of human beings and somehow catering to that or evolving the product around that. Because at the end of the day, it's a human desire. And if you get to fulfill that desire vis-a-vis their products, then you're hooked, right? So that's basically what it is. Yeah, so it should definitely work for other industries. Yeah, so the hook model, like I mentioned, it has a trigger, an action, a variable reward, and an investment. The trigger is basically the spark plug, something that starts the whole deal. Then there's an action that you undertake. Let's say the trigger is you're on Instagram, you see someone put up a picture, right? It looks nice. So that's the trigger. Now you feel like you want to put up a picture and you want to share something, right?
Right.
So that's the action you take. But that action that you take is you're kind of expecting a reward when you take that action. Let's say put up that picture and you're expecting some people to like it, get some social validation, or feel a little good about yourself, right?
Right, yeah. I hope so.
And, yeah, don't we all?
Yeah.
Then there's the variable reward. So the variable reward is sort of like we can take, like, say, for example, gambling. So when you go to
Hmm.
the slot machine, right? So you pull the lever and you don't know what the reward is, right? So you're taking that action in anticipation of a reward, but that reward is variable because you could get nothing or you could win the jackpot.
Okay.
And that variable reward is something that, speaks to the human mind, and that's something that sort of like keeps you coming back for more. Yeah, so the variable reward was what it basically does is that, whenever you're expecting a reward,
Hmm.
there's a surge in dopamine levels.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they get you. At the end of the day, it's all about dopamine. That's the drug, man. That's how they.
God damn it, man. Worse than cocaine, I'll tell you that.
I'll take your word for it.
I mean, no, I
Uh,
haven't done it. My mother was listening, man. Jesus Christ. No, no.
my bad. So the last thing was investment. And investment is like the investment the consumer is putting into this. You put money into it, you put some time into it. So
Hmm.
the more you invest into it, the more likely you are to cycle through this. For example, you're playing a game. Let's take what's your favorite game? Age of Empires, right?
I have a love-hate relationship, but yeah, I play that a lot.
Okay, let's just take Age of Empires then. So there's definitely a learning curve to the game.
Yeah,
There's some
there's.
strategies, some basic tactics. You've got to learn
Yeah.
about the units. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you invest that time into it, that's an investment on your part. You put like a couple of hours into it. So you're more likely to continue down that path because you made that initial investment. And otherwise, it'll seem like just a cost to you.
By the way, that's like one of the main reasons I still play. It's just because I've played so much. I know so much about it. I mean, it's like, yeah, whatever. Might as well do it.
No, absolutely. I understand that I have more than 1,200 hours in CSGO. And it's just that.
Yeah, and it's the same map, Rust or whatever. Yeah, it's like the same place, same thing. But you're like,
It's Dust too, actually,
oh,
please.
Dust. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all the
The OG.
CS:GO.
I mean, actually, we could do, maybe if we can read, maybe we can read more books on gaming and we can do an analysis on one of these games and how they managed to hook you for so long. Because CSGO is one of those games that just refuses to die.
Yeah, and I was thinking about it as soon as you said CS:GO. Well, one thing that I want to ask is, okay, so this is all about the drug dopamine, right? He knows about the power of dopamine and caters to the our need to obtain dopamine. So, does he draw a line between where it is manipulation of the human need to acquire dopamine and the other side being it's just a great product. It's a great design.
For him, actually, he does explain it nearing the end. Once he's explained how these companies use it, he has a chapter on whether you're really solving a lead or you're creating an addiction. And he has a matrix that he set up, and he explains that he tries to guide you through it, and he tries to tell you about the line and what
Mhm.
there's a difference between nudging people to utilize something versus
Mhm.
peddling something. Like a drug, you're peddling this product. So he says
Right.
that there's a difference between like utility creation and peddling. So he does talk about it, which is something I appreciate because he's very open about these tactics that companies use. Just trying to narrate and explain what it is that they use and what it is they're trying to accomplish. But nearing the end, as you've asked, he does definitely cover this. So, but I'm not going to be discussing that because it'll take too long. But I definitely
Okay.
like this is one of the reasons I recommend the book as well, because he has a sense to kind of make clear that yeah, this is definitely something that's could be used in the wrongful manner, and
Mhm.
why you shouldn't use it in such a manner.
Yeah, I guess it's something like a video game just being a great game, or using all of these microtransactions, or getting people hooked to just keep like FIFA or something.
Absolutely, I hate FIFA.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah, there's not much difference year on year. The what do you call the purist will tell you otherwise. Like Messi's left foot is 30% more efficient. Uh,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
but I don't believe it. That actually, now that we're talking about it, like I've covered the hooked model, but this FIFA thing reminds me. There's
Mhm.
this one thing that he talks about, Nir. He
Mhm.
talks about how, like, one of the things that companies will try to do is, what they're trying to do is that they're trying to get someone really hooked, and they're going to get that person to become, he calls it brand evangelist, right?
Oh
So
God.
basically, yeah. So basically, they end up becoming like megaphones for your company, and they bring in new users at no cost, right? So what you're trying to do is you're going to try to use these tactics to get a few people to become your brand evangelists, who are then going to sort of like, recommend friends, bring friends in,
Yeah.
which you guys who are all listening should do.
Uh,
Terrible
yeah,
plug, but
yeah.
we let it stay.
Just go door to door. Have you heard about the wise words of Jesus Christ? You know, or two guys on the podcast there.
Hey man, like a couple of shameless plugs are all right.
Yeah, man, it's
Anyways,
all good.
yeah, so that's the way companies work, and that's fair because at the end of the day, you don't want to spend too much. Like the amount of money that you spend on marketing is money you
Mhm.
can spend on operations, and more importantly, money that's not going into your pocket. What they really want to do is they want to get a bunch of people, hooked onto this, and then they're spreading the word for you. I mean that's like the holy grail. You manage to do that, and if that's your entire marketing, you're set. Which is why Uber and all of these people, they have this, they have these referral programs because
Mhm.
that ends turns out to be a lot more effective in getting people, as opposed to just putting discounts or something of that sort. So referrals
Yeah.
are a big thing in the industry, and it works because there's a human connection. You recommend it to a friend, your friend's more likely to use it if you recommend it, and so on and so forth.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so basically they piggyback over off of our trust to make money off of us. Clever.
It is very clever, but for some reason, I guess I can't just help but look at it as like they understand how people get hooked onto things and then they just
Yeah.
create like a vicious cycle and profit from that cycle.
Yeah, I think that's where, like, that's the fine line there. Like there's a difference between, when you're just trying to get people to stay on as long as possible so you can make money off of them versus, something that you truly think this is a good product and you're just
Right.
using some of these tactics to get more viewership or consumers, let's say.
Yeah, yeah.
And it makes sense for companies. Like he talks about, if you have a product, if we take two competitors in the industry, if there's a product that changes a customer's routines, that's a product that's far less susceptible to attacks from other companies. One thing is, hey, look, I do the same thing that product B does, but I'm cheaper, right? If product B becomes cheaper or becomes better quality, you're able to switch to that product. But what if what I provide changes your routine entirely? Let's say Instagram, it's a new medium, right?
Hmm.
That's something that people were not used to doing. Or Facebook, like there was MySpace, I think, or Friendster, I want to say.
Friendster?
I
The
think
hell is
that's what it
that?
was.
I don't know.
Yeah. But essentially, what it does is it changes your daily routine to a different thing. Now, that's something that's far tougher to compete over, and that's essentially why they're trying to do this.
So, what would be an example of a successful company for doing that? Is there like or like an epitome of this model?
I'd say Instagram is definitely one of them, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a social media one. For example, there's certain rewards that human beings seek. He talks
Hmm.
about the three rewards that like the three reasons why you would seek rewards is like there's a tribal instinct, like something to
Hmm.
be you want to be part of the tribe, which is
Hmm.
sort of like how you notice that people do reviews of sites on Google, or let's
Hmm.
say one of those restaurant review sites, and they get
Yep.
nothing out of it. Like no one's like, hey, here's $5 for doing it. There's no monetary gain.
Yeah.
But they do it because they want to feel like they're part of a tribe. Because if you get like 100,000 upvotes, let's say, uh, then you were beneficial to the tribe, so to speak, or you were a party to that reviewer tribe. So that's something that people sort of like look forward to.
You know, the more you talk about this model, the more I think about Disney.
Yeah, Disney, because that's like a tribe as well. They try to associate you as part of like the Disney viewership, or like the
Yeah.
90s kids who watched all the original Disney's
Yeah,
shows.
and yes, and also how successful they've been with their Marvel products. I mean, think about it.
That's actually true. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. That's something that they've managed to achieve on a very large scale.
With their Marvel products, with their Star Wars, Disneyland. I mean, I would say it's even more powerful than Instagram or Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, they've been very successful at it, and I think part of that is that they create these. They maintain the associations that you have with it. Like they'll create good products. Let's say something that they bring to you into your childhood, and then they're going to, like, let's say, do a second movie or a third video, and they're going to use your nostalgia as the base emotion to kind of
Yeah,
link you back to it. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Besides the tribe, he also talks about the self. It's also a reward. For example, you're playing a video game, let's say. I mean,
Mhm.
Counter-Strike is the one I've played the most. So when you want to rank up in the game, that's something you're doing for yourself, an increase in skill, an increase in level. So that's a hunt that you want, personal satisfaction in that sense. So that's something companies will try to do as well, like put these variable scales, sort of like a ladder that you have to keep on climbing. And each time you climb this ladder that has actually no real significance to your day-to-day life, you feel better. Hey, I'm like on the second rung of the ladder,
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't really
yeah.
make any difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fictitious ladder. There's no real gain out of it. But that's really it. And it works. That's the striking thing. It just works so well.
Actually, you know what's the funny thing? I mean,
Yeah.
CS:GO or in a video game, I understand like trying to move up the ranks, so to speak. But one
Yeah.
thing that is absolutely hilarious is a Reddit. You use Reddit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Reddit Gold. Dude, that doesn't give you anything. It doesn't really. It literally like what the hell is that? There's no rank. There's nothing. And somehow, like every time I look at Karma or Reddit Gold, I'm like, what the hell is that? Like I don't care if I have it or not. But then I see somebody getting gilded, or that's what they say. I'm like, why don't I get one? You know, I make a comment.
Gilded.
Nobody likes me. Yeah, it's like you're given gold because you can give
Wow.
people gold. Yeah, and I'm just like, why don't they give it to me? I'm funny, right? Come on.
Actually, that's a terrific example because it tackles all of it. You want to be beneficial to that tribe, and then there's the self there. Like you want, like you're fun. You want that. And
Yeah,
lastly, they create scarcity, I guess, because there's not so because it's expensive, so not that many people will,
yeah,
want to
yeah,
pay Reddit so much money for gold. So it creates
exactly.
scarcity, and you know how humans are. If it's scarce, love it. We want it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's and also in this book, there was this one quote in the book. I don't recall who's the person who said it, but it's quite nice, so I'm going to share it here regardless. He
Okay.
says that the ultimate goal of a habit forming product is to solve the user's pain by creating an association so that the user identifies the company's product or service as the source of relief.
Oh
So,
God.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
that's how these guys think, you know, and it works so well because if you think about it, like, let's say you need social interaction, it
Mhm.
requires you to, let's say, go out, meet people, whatever else. But if you remove those steps, going out, making friends, whatever else, and you
Taking
just
a
put in like,
shower.
yeah, yeah, taking a shower, putting on fresh clothes, all of that,
Yeah.
and you remove all those steps, and that's it. You're on Instagram or on Reddit, and you can have the same connections. You've solved the user's relief, like you've given him relief from an immediate pain, which is some social interaction, and that's really what it is, and it works so well. And yes, I recall now who said it. He's one of the co-founders of both Twitter and Medium. Are you aware of Medium?
No.
It's like this blogging website, so to speak.
Oh, okay.
You could take it like that. It's quite successful, but then that's really what it is. So this is a guy who's created something like Twitter and Medium, sort of
Mhm.
similar mediums, no pun intended. But they both do tackle that. They both do tackle that thing that he's referring to.
So I guess what we're trying to do here, what is the pain that we're trying to relieve for the listeners of this podcast?
Yes,
Maybe it's
sorry,
the
go ahead.
pain of reading the books. That's what we're doing.
No, but you got to take it down deeper, right? So these guys, you don't stop there. There's a pain of reading the books, but why do they want to read the books?
maybe they want to learn what's in the books without having to read them, or maybe they want to show off, like be like, oh yeah, I know about this book.
Oh,
I don't know.
perfect. Yeah, so those are two things, right? So one
Yeah.
is the knowledge seeking, which
Right.
boils down to human curiosity, right?
Yeah.
The second is, showing off, which comes down from a need to feel important. So those are the two base emotions here then. The need to feel important and curiosity. So if we manage to tackle both of those, I think we're golden.
Oh God. you, anybody who was like, maybe I'll give these guys a shot. Probably at this point they'll be like, screw these guys, man. Trying to
Hey,
trick me.
yeah, but we're honest about it.
Hey, listen, guys. Look, better us than Apple or one of those guys. Like, come on.
Yeah,
Let's.
that's true. Buy
Yeah.
local. Even your addiction, buy local.
Even buy local. It's the local weed, man. You know what I'm saying? It's not as
Yeah,
international stuff. It's the local stuff. Yeah.
absolutely. I think it works. But to be honest, that's really what it is. But and it works because if you think about why you want to read, the way you boil it down, it makes perfect sense. It's sort of a human curiosity, which is an
Yeah.
evolutionary need because there's so many things that are detrimental to humans' health. If we did not have a curiosity to learn, I don't think civilization would have progressed as far as it did.
100%. What
Yeah,
animal do you think is the least curious animal there is?
the least curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
And somehow they've made it this far.
I'd say alligators.
Alligators.
Yeah, they do nothing. I mean, their main the coolest thing they do is they just stay still until someone walks close enough to eat, and they're still the rest of the day too. So it's not really they're not
Dude,
really
these
curious.
guys, they wait for their food to come. That's next level.
I guess that's fair too. That's fair.
Or
No,
maybe sloth.
yeah, I was thinking that, but I thought that might be two on the nose. So I thought,
Yeah, I know.
so maybe you can think of it like this. For example, alligators, right? I mean, these guys have been pretty much similar for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
And what they do is they learned a long while ago that animals will come seeking water. So as
Right.
long as they stay in the water, they're golden. And which is what they did. You don't see alligator species that have evolved eventually over a millennia to flying or
Yeah,
totally on land. It's
yeah.
that's really what it is. They realized the essential need of animals and they're playing to it. If anything, alligators are the marketing managers of the animal world.
Yeah, and the most efficient ones by far.
Maybe we should be looking at the animal world instead of technology companies to understand how to hook people onto something.
Yeah, and you might even find even better results. I mean, if you're catering to biological needs at this point,
Yeah, that's true.
let's let's
Absolutely.
let's look at more biology then.
You
Maybe
know
we'll
what?
get somewhere.
Okay, let's do it. Up next, guys, we're gonna be studying biology. Look at that.
Yeah, yeah. The behavior of ants.
I think
Hey,
actually, that's quite deep. I mean,
don't you like, go to war or something?
there is something. I watched this YouTube video once. I think it's by I forget the channel is because it's German and I can't pronounce that for my life. Kurzgesagt, I want to say, and it talks about
Oh
how
yeah, yeah. Great channel, by the way.
yeah, that's true. No
Or
doubt.
you can just, if you want to spare yourself the trouble of typing that, just write in a nutshell. I think.
I think that's yeah. One of those
Yeah.
two. They explain about the ant wars, and it's quite exciting. But for another episode.
Yeah.
Now, I told you the basic hooked model, and somehow how they use emotions and how human beings work to kind of sell you a product, and why it works so well. And we discussed a little bit about reading books and how it's sort of similar. Like you can break down any need, anything that you do down to these base emotions, and if you can
Mhm.
capture or associate your product with the base emotions, then you're sort of set in this, which is what they try to do. Now there is one other thing, he talks about. This is the part where we can use this model sort of to fix your life. Not fix your
Mm.
life, but for example, de-hook yourself or hook yourself to something that's more beneficial. Let's say you want to exercise daily, you want to study daily, anything of that sort, whatever it is that brings you joy.
Mm-hmm.
And but not drugs. Don't do drugs,
Don't do
guys.
that. Don't do that. No.
Don't do drugs. Okay. So there's a psychologist whose name is Fogg. Fogg, yeah, Fogg.
Oh, okay.
And he talks about, if you want somebody to undertake an action, or if you want, like, to be able to take an action, you need three things. You need the motivation to take that action. You need to have the ability to be able to take that action. And finally, there should be some trigger to undertake that action. And he gives the example of a cell phone, actually. And he says that, let's say there's a cell phone, it rings, and you pick it up, right? So that's an action that you've undertaken. Well, let's say you get a call, and it's from an unknown number, and you think it's some telemarketer. So you don't pick it up because you don't have a motivation to pick it up at that time.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of simple, but he gets the point across. And then he says, let's say the phone is like deep in your like bag or something, or really far away, and the phone rings. And then you don't have the ability because it's not immediately next to you. So you don't have the ability to pick it up, so to speak. And the last is the trigger, which is like if your phone's on silent and you don't hear it, then you're not likely to pick it up. So you're unlikely to, undertake that action. And that's basically how he explains it. But the way one can use it is like I read some other reviews of the book as well, and this is what I understood. And if you take these three things, then it causes you to take an action. So let's say you're addicted to something. I don't know, maybe you're addicted to junk food or cola. For me, like as I mentioned, I had 1,000 hours in CS:GO. And
Well, I mean, let's not start calling it addiction, man. Because if that's the case, like, I need severe rehab for my video gaming addiction.
I think you're in denial because it just might be true.
Man.
No, it just might be true because I had over 1,000 hours in CS:GO, and I kid you not, I uninstalled that game 16 times until I finally let it go. Yeah, that bad. And I didn't know it at the time, but that's basically what I was doing, right? The reason I uninstalled it is that it takes a long time to reinstall the game. So if I uninstall it, each time my friends call me and I have to reinstall it, that's 40 minutes gone, and that's like a game missed.
Yeah.
So what it does is, like, first of all, like, yeah, okay, I'm crazy motivated to play, and I can't change that because I enjoy the game and I'm playing with friends. I'm not saying CS:GO is a bad thing, but I just been putting too many hours at the time, and I wanted to stop.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm back into it again. Just putting.
Add me on Steam, boys.
Yeah. Hey man, it's a great game. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Anyways, this isn't an advertisement for CS:GO, so I'm going to tell you how to quit it.
All right, we're not getting paid for this.
We're not getting paid for it, but if Valve or Gabe wants to.
Oh well, I mean, I'm not going to say no to that.
Yeah. Anyways, the point I was trying to make is that so you'll definitely be motivated to continue playing that game, right? No doubt, because you're playing it with your friends and on it, and it brings you joy.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you remove the ability, like it takes 40 minutes to reinstall that, your ability to instantly get on a game has drastically reduced. Boom.
Yeah.
That's something that you've taken away, and it's unlikely to result in the same action. So the less times you cycle through the same action, the less likely it has to become a habit. Because to become a habit, there needs to be utility to that action or service or product, whatever, and also frequency. So as long as you're breaking that frequency of that bad habit, then it works out in your favor. So what I did is I uninstalled it, and then there was a time lag to start it, so I removed the ability. And then we had a WhatsApp group for friends, but then a WhatsApp group specifically for CS:GO. And each time a message would come there, I'd want to play, right? So that's the trigger. So I left from that group as well. Even then, it took me a long while to let go of CS:GO at that time. But that's essentially what I did. The motivation I couldn't touch, I'm motivated to play it. So I removed my ability to instantly join, and I removed the trigger aspect of it. And lo and behold, after 17 uninstalls, I was successful for a couple of years.
For a couple of years, that's pretty good.
Actually, yeah, dude, I didn't play for about 2.5 years.
Wow.
I only recently got back into it.
Hey man, it's the quarantine period,
That's really what it is. That's why we're doing this, guys. It's the quarantine. It's not the
quarantine. Yeah, it's not our need for attention. No.
Yeah, or curiosity for that matter. Yeah.
No, yeah, but like it looks like I need to get a little bit creative. How to stop playing Age of Empires. That game is like 500 megabytes or something.
Oh damn.
Yeah,
But but that's overall. So that's basically the book. To be honest, like I'd like your opinion on it. Last time when you covered a book, I got your opinion on whether you is something that you'd read or what you thought about it. Like just a small summary of whether you'd be interested in reading it. Then I'll give my rating.
okay. Well, I mean, from what you've told me, I would be interested in reading. I would be interested in reading it. I mean, what I do like about this book, it seems like it is offering one thing that is applicable to many things. I mean, if you want to start your own company and design a product, I guess this is the book for you. But more so, I would read it for just the sake of understanding addiction to, as is commonly known, to drugs or something, but not to that, maybe to more practical things in our lives, like a smartphone or movies or music or games.
That's great, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it. To be honest, I really enjoyed it as well. Like I give it a solid 8.
A
I'm just
solid 8. Yeah,
yeah,
that's good.
definitely. Like maybe even leaning a bit towards 9 because it's just
Uh,
easily digestible and it's written well. And it's not. Sometimes you read these books and it's a lot of I don't want to say gibberish, but it's I guess trying too hard. You know?
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to cover their lack of content by using fancy words.
Yeah, essentially. But this isn't like that. And there's, I haven't covered a lot of examples, but the book with each thing, it provides a lot of examples like Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, Google, Twitter, you name it, and they cover
Alligators.
not those. That's a ignorant conversation original. So you can only get those kind of examples. But it's definitely a good book, and I'm happy to be able to cover it here.
Well,
So,
I've been happy to
yeah.
listen to it, honestly.
That's good, man. I'm happy too. So then, what do you have planned for us for next week? You will be doing next week, so maybe you can give the view.
Oh, well, I mean, I feel like this is gonna be we're gonna have a smooth transition into next week, because next week I'll be talking about the Cynic philosophy that began in ancient Greek, which is not the conventional definition of cynicism that we're familiar to nowadays, which is just being skeptical or not liking things, but it was more like a way of living, and it is in a way essentially how to get de-hooked on pleasure.
I'm looking forward to hearing your review on it. It's been a while since I read philosophy, so it'd be lovely to get back into it.
Yeah, I've been on that for a while, and it's pretty good. So I think it's gonna be fun connecting this week and next week.
Okay, that sounds amazing. And as
All
always,
right.
guys, feel free to comment. Any improvements you want within the show, or any books you'd like us to read. Right now we're just sort of reading what we read in our general daily life and putting out
Yeah.
our opinions on it. But we're open to reading anything anyone suggests. So, and thanks for listening to us.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Hopefully talk to you all next week.